Okay, so I'm still working on the forming process here. You can see that the back side's taking some shape. It's just a pretty lengthy, time-consuming process. So it's really hard to do with the camera in the way. But you just take, any tool, and just kind of work it in. We use a more fine point. You can go back over it with some wider stuff and stretch it back out and smooth out that hard line some. But the idea is that this is what's going to offer the retention. Is how it's molded, and you can really affect the amount of retention the gun has, or the holster has, based off of the molding. So you can see that sight channel back here on the back edge there. Like I said, I don't really get too heavily involved with the boning on the front side. It's just not the look that I'm going for. With that reinforcement folded over right there, it's really going to help keep this holster open, and I'll show a couple of other little things we'll do after this to stiffen the leather up. It's kind of a couple of neat little tricks that I've learned. I'm just going to keep stretching this out because I just can tell by looking that it's not enough molding there. This leather actually dries fairly quickly. I had the camera off for maybe 10 minutes when I was shaping this some, and it's not much to watch really. It's kind of boring. Just kind of something you just keep going until you kind of know when you're done. You see pretty good detail, and kind of get an idea when it's pretty close. Because the leather just eventually it just keeps going a little bit at a time, and then eventually you just kind of get to a point to where it's got some definition, and it kind of quits stretching and quits going. It kind of almost like it's resilient, like it kind of goes back into shape. And here's another thing that I do on mine. You'll see some guys, they'll make their holsters, and it's fine. There's a lot of precision involved, but they'll end their holster right at the muzzle, and that's fine. It looks great. I'm not that patient to do that, but I actually like having this openness on the end and a little bit of length at the end, because it tapers over time. As it breaks in, it kind of tapers down, and then it just makes it easier putting it on. Just makes it a lot easier putting it on rather than having a big wide thing you're trying to fit down through your waistband. It's kind of tapered, so it slips down in a lot easier. It's not right or wrong, it's just kind of what I prefer. But anyway, it's kind of boring to watch at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop the tape for now, and when I get this done, we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so I've got all the shaping done. I've burnished the edges on there. How well this phone's going to pick that up. But I've burnished the edges to the point to where I think they're ready for edge coat. Probably a little better than like a utility edge, but still, I could spend more time on it and get it cleaner if I wanted, but it's just a concealed carry holster. So anyway, the leather's starting to dry, it's starting to get stiff. Gun fits well. One of the things with leather is, depending on how it's finished, it will be soft and it will close on itself. Well, there's a few tricks you can do. I used to put these in the oven and dry them in the oven and everything, but now what I do is I use rubbing alcohol. I picked this up on the Leather Worker Forum. Rubbing alcohol, I can't explain the science behind it, but so there's something about the drying agent, the way it dries with rubbing alcohol, that actually makes the leather harden the same way that putting it in the oven does. And it's an irreversible process from what I understand, and it basically makes the leather extremely hard. In fact, when you bake it, I guess that's how they used to make armor back in the day, for swords and such. And so it makes it really hard. The problem with baking it is I don't really have an oven made for that kind of thing, so it's just my regular kitchen oven. And the problem with it is that the temperature control, and it's different for every thickness of leather, and I've ruined things before trying to bake them. And the rubbing alcohol seems to work just fine. It's pretty impressive actually how stiff it is. And you go to like some of these chain stores that sell, I don't want to name any names, but you go to these chain stores that sell these holsters, these leather holsters by companies whose names you might recognize, and just how absolutely worthless they are for a holster if you ever want to have to try reinserting a gun in the holster while you're wearing it. They're terrible. There's no way in the world, they just close on themselves. And so with this process, it makes that impossible. I mean, I wear my belt pretty tight, and it does a good job. It has done a good job in the past, making the leather really stiff. And it gets even stiffer after you put dye on it, and after you put a sealer on it. It's plenty stiff. There's some people that have tried some cheap holsters, and they complain that leather closes on itself. And if you have a holster that's made properly and made to be reholstered, it won't do that. So anyways, that's pretty much about it for now. That's going to be it's going to take a while to dry, and I may even put it over the vent. My furnace is running in the background. I apologize for the background noise. I may even put it over the vent and let it dry over some air and heat. That helps too, but it'll take a good long while for this to dry thoroughly. I'd say overall so far the stitch line looks okay. There's a couple places where it could be tighter, but there's a balance there. I'm not really figured that out for myself yet. At what point I want it to be really tight and pull on the threads a little bit and the seams, and at what point do I want to rely on the holster not stretching anymore in the future. But it's acceptable, at least now. So the next step is going to be just letting it dry, like I said, and then putting some dye on it and some edge coat. So as of now, that's what it looks like. It'll look better once it's dyed black. They won't be so contrasting, but it's turned out okay. I think this might be the last style, or last one of this style that I make. I think I'm going to try a little bit different design. This design is pretty plain, but it seems to work pretty well. I can get my gun on easily, and I can grip the weapon fully, and I can still get a pretty good cover on the back. Keep the gun off my skin and protect all the controls. Pull that back up a little bit. But overall, it's an okay design. I think the next pattern that I do is going to be a little bit different and modify it totally. Maybe go with something that's a little bit wider, ears up a little bit higher. Because if I put the clips on, they're going to ride pretty much right to the top, so the belt's going to come right straight across here. I pretty much like my belt line to be right in line with the trigger guard. Seems to be the best position for me, and that's, I mean, holsters are like shoes. It's going to fit one person but not the next. It's just so when you read, you know, these reviews or see these reviews of people talking about holsters and how comfortable they are, that's completely subjective. What works for you isn't going to work for somebody else. And perfect example is appendix carry. I don't have any idea how people can appendix carry a gun. It is the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever tried to do. It's horrible. But so, like I said, comfort is completely subjective. It's just, it's going to vary so much from one person to the next. So anyways, so that's what it looks like as of now. It's going to look different when it's dyed. It'll look a little bit better, and hopefully I didn't burnish the leather too much shaping it, and it'll take a dye well. Hopefully the edges turn out really well. See, they're fairly smooth all the way around. There's little burrs in there, little hairs. But you can see on the back side, I don't know if you can see the detail in that. You're able to get in there when you mold it. So anyways, that's it for now. I'll try to see if I can finish this up the next few days. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned.